of 1973, but he did dress and play very well in the Bruins 5-2 win at the Los Angeles Kings on the coast. The last game that Broderick played was December the 29th, and that also was against the Los Angeles Kings. And there's a much beleaguered Cesar Maniago in goal for the North Stars, his 27th start of the year, and he really has been peppered as the North Stars have given up a ton of goals, mostly all season long, but especially so in their last few games. Broderick, on the other hand, playing in his second game of the year. Of course, he had that one a week ago Sunday when the Bruins defeated the Red Wings 4-3, but they played 3 games on the coast, which we did not do. But just to bring you up to date on those, California, they lost that game to the Seals, and then they went to Vancouver where they were defeated 6-4. But after a layoff of 4 days, they came storming back to defeat the Los Angeles Kings, which looked like at the outset to be their toughest game of the 3-game road trip on the coast. And there's the new face, Rod Graham, called up from Rochester to replace Dave Hines, who was sent back to the Rochester Americans. And he saw some action, though limited, in the game against the Los Angeles Kings. The Minnesota North Stars have a couple of new faces. There's one, number 15, Dean Talafas, who was obtained today or yesterday. Actually, it was announced this morning. Barry Gibbs, the defenseman for the North Stars, went to the Atlanta Flames for Dean Talafas and Dwight Bylois. They're both dressed. There he is, number 25 is Bylois. Fred?
John, I see very uneven lighting. Do you look across the center red line where the light is bright and then the rest of it is darker? There doesn't seem to be any concern down there, but that's very uneven distribution of the light here.
I think, Fred, that the end lights are not on at this moment back of the goals in each end. I don't know why, what the reason for that is, but we're now having the national anthem. Both teams have regulars not dressed for tonight's action. We'll give you those in a moment, but there are the officials for tonight's game. The referee is Ron Wicks, number 4 in the center. And on our right is Ray Scampanello, number 32, and number 42 is John Brown. The 2 goaltenders, Ken Broderick for the Boston Bruins, his 2nd game of the year. Cesar Maniago for the Minnesota North Stars, his 27th game of the year. All set for great play-by-play. Here to bring it to you is Fred Cusick.
Okay, the lights are okay. They're all on now, and Savard at center with Dave Forbes and O'Reilly, Orr and Dallas Smith, and this is Duran checked by Orr. Down goes Forbes. Savard to Orr with Duran forechecking. Smith to Orr, and he's on the move. Back for Smith, and the playoff side at the line. Injured players. A reminder, this broadcast is authorized by the Boston Bruins Hockey Club solely for the entertainment of our viewing audience. Any broadcast, rebroadcast, or other use of the account of descriptions of this game without the express written consent of the Boston Bruins at TV-38 is prohibited. That's Dwight Bylois, acquired in the trade with Atlanta. Barry Gibbs, 26-year-old defenseman, who had made the Western All-Star team when it was East against West in the NHL. Barry Gibbs traded to Atlanta. And there's Henry Boucha, picked up from Detroit in a trade for Danny Grant last year. Orr snaps it in, a save by Maniago. Bylois with it. Now for Dennis O'Brien. Dennis off to Parisi, and a good breakout here. Savard coming back, but Parisi over the line. Couldn't connect with Drouin. Boucher keeps it in. Around the boards on the other side, O'Reilly starts it out, looking for Orr. Went behind him. Orr checked. Boucher knocked down by O'Reilly, and Dallas Smith moves. Stopped on the play. Dennis O'Brien for the North Stars, overdue by Lois. By Lois and Dean Talifas, acquired in that trade for Barry Gibbs, as Duran clears it in for Minnesota. Just underway, no score. O'Reilly starting back. Of course, Wayne Cashman still out of the Boston lineup, recuperating from the back operation. In the corner, Savard steals, drops it for Smith. Smith can't get it, and Boucher out, coming up on the left-hand side. Parisi off for Parisi. Parisi throws and shoots, and Broderick took the angle away and made the stop. First test there as Boucher set up Parisi. Orr pokes it ahead. Forbes trying to move with it, and by Lois back to cover for the North Stars. His pass out, Dallas Smith stops, Forbes, and the play offside at the line. With the score, Boston nothing and Minnesota nothing, let's pause for this.
Good teamwork here by Orr and Broderick. Watch Broderick come out. He realizes Parise has to shoot because Orr picked up Boucher. Beautiful play by defensive move by Orr, but Broderick read the play beautifully and came out to block the angle and handle a shot by Parise.
Esposito, who now has 37 goals on the season, centering Marcotte and Hodge. And the puck is knocked in by Hicks, number 24 for Minnesota. Now it's Vadnais for Marcotte. Dennis Hextall trying to move with it. Vadnais has it. Number 27 is John Flesch, sporting a new, is it new? A crew haircut. Esposito on the loose puck. Clears it in as he's checked by Hicks around the other side. Hodge, Flesch, Vadnais has it. In deep, Maniago sweeping it around. No score, just underway. And out comes Dean Talifas. Now to Hextall. A good break here with Flesch. Off for Flesch in the playoff side. Talifas on the right wing in ahead.
Well, Boston missing some regular players tonight. Of course, Cashman's still out with that back, but we understand he's progressing very favorably. Gilbert, also bothered by that back, is still in Boston. Broderick playing in his second game. Brooks as the backup. Dave Hines was sent to Rochester. We'll give you the rest in a moment.
And Dennis Hextall keeps it in. Broderick taps it for Sims. Up for Marcotte. Sims clears it out as he's knocked down by Dennis Hextall. Flesch on the left wing side moves it in. Vadnais over to Sims. Up for Marcotte to Esposito. Center ice. In for Marcotte. Centering pass. Dropped off for Hodge. Hodge checked in the play. Battles for it. Hicks can't move it out yet. Finally does. Hextall can't get it, but Flesch picks up the loose puck. For Hextall, the shot deflected by Vadnais into the crowd in back of Broderick, and a face-off call.
Well, Gary Doak, who's not with the Boston Bruins for the game tonight, and we're sad to announce that his mother-in-law passed away the other day, and he went home. He is not dressed for the Boston Bruins tonight. For the Minnesota North Stars, they are without Lou Nanne, Barrett, and Bill Goldsworthy, all out with broken bones. Nanne has a broken wrist, Barrett with a broken bone in his hand, and Goldsworthy not a broken bone, but he has a tendon in his finger was cut in that altercation. We'll give you that in a moment.
And Martineau checks Esposito. The puck goes to Vadnais inside the line. Off for Sims, up to Marcotte. And the play broken up by Fred Stanfield. Stanfield back to Langley. And what a hit there by Graham. Graham stepped right into Langley. The hardest check so far, as Graham is at right wing for Hodge. And a penalty coming up now.
Al Sims is going off for either high sticking or charging. I guess it may be boarding, but he really rammed the North Star right winger into the boards.
There's a break in the action with the score. Boston nothing, Minnesota nothing. Let's pause for this message.
Well, here comes the first penalty of the hockey game. 18 is Martineau, and Sims bashing him into the boards, and he's off for boarding at 3:45. And Minnesota North Stars, who have scored 22 power play goals so far this year, have the man advantage.
Shepard and Schmatz with Dallas Smith and Orr. And this is number 7, Blake Dunlop, forechecking Orr. Orr carries out. and flips it down. This is by Lois, who's playing the right point. Stanfield the left. At left wing, it's Boucher. At right wing, it's Murray Oliver. At center, it's Blake Dunlop on the power play for Minnesota. Stanfield rushing. Clears it in. Back to get it. Shepard. Can't move it out. Stanfield back in front. Blocked by Orr. Possible breakaway here for Schmatz. A race with by Lois. Drives one. And a save by Maniago, and he let that one go. Schmatz. Used as a penalty killer now by Coach John Cherry. In to break up the Minnesota play, and he had a scoring threat there. 1:10 left on the penalty. Stanfield leads the rush for Minnesota. 15:23 left first period, no score. Puck fed in. Broderick leaving it for Shepard. Shepard can't move it out. Checked by Boucher. Shepard on it again. Back on the other side. Stanfield way up to keep it in. And in the corner, Murray Oliver off wing side. Back for Stanfield to drive. And it's wide. Shepard trying to bat it out. Can't. Kept in by Dunlop. Dunlop shot up for Oliver, broken up by Dallas Smith, and Dallas Smith able to clear. Schmatz against by Lois, can't get it. Blake Dunlop for Minnesota North Stars. No score in the game, power play. 30 seconds left. Boucher over the line, left wing side, broken up by Orr, kept in by Dunlop. Back to Stanfield, the drive, save, rebound Orr, and the quick clear out by Orr. The penalty almost up. Well, 20 seconds now on the clock. 14:33 left, first period. By Lois back for Minnesota. Esposito out there with Marcotte. Up for J.P. Parisi, who just came on. Over the line. Flips it back. Kept in by O'Brien. Broken up by Esposito. And he clears. And now the penalty up. Back for Tom Reed. Off for Drouin. No score in the game. To Parisi. Broken up by Sims, who stepped right in front of Drouin looking for that pass. Martineau now over the line for Drouin. Closing, driving, save by Broderick. Loose puck kept in. Now Hodge out for Marcotte. Can't hang on to it as the Bruins clear it out. Reed plays it back, but Sims breaks with it. Good break here to Hodge off wing side. Back for Sims in front. Couldn't get control. Tied up all the way by Hicks. Parisi starts back for Minnesota. No score in the game. 13:35 left. First period. Tom Reed back for Hicks. 19-year-old rookie defenseman for Minnesota. And Vadnais breaks up the play. Gives it to Sims. Up for Marcotte off the boards. He's out with Vadnais on the move. Vadnais breaking well. Trying to close. Moving for a backhander. Imji tries to drop it off. It was blocked. And spilled was Marcotte. And a penalty here. It is hooking on Tom Reed. Interference or hooking. And Reed goes out. There's a break in the action with the score. Boston nothing. Minnesota nothing. Let's pause for this message.
Good move here by Vadnais. Couldn't get the puck in front as Maniago played that very, very coming out a little bit to block the centering pass by Vadnais. And then you saw him being knocked down. That's interference, and the penalty is to Reed at 6:47. Boston with the opportunity with the power play.
Hodge back to Orr. Up for Hodge. Fires. Save, Maniago. Good stop on that one. And Dennis Hextall clears the rebound. Hodge, fairly tough angle. Blasting that right on. And the right patch saved by Maniago. Orr on the move. Power play Boston. For Busick. Cutting inside. And broken up at the line, and it forced an offside. Murray Oliver and Dennis Hextall with Dennis O'Brien. And at right defense, it is by Lois. For Boston, Esposito, Busick, and Hodge with Vadnais and Orr. 12:52 left, first period, no score. Orr to Esposito, trying to move it in. Dennis O'Brien. Snaps it all the way around and back to the Boston end. A sellout or close to it here for this game, and Minnesota has not been playing that well. And a lot of internal squabbles and trades. But like some wounded animals, can be dangerous. Here's Orr back for Hodge, closing, drives it again, and that made Maniago snap his head out of the way on a rising shot, and it's call for a face-off. And now let's pause for this program reminder.
Richard Basehart and Sid Charisse star in Tension, a mystery thriller set in the glamorous surroundings of Beverly Hills and Malibu Beach. Tomorrow on the Sunday noon movie here on TV-38, the Bruins Red Sox station.
Puck went into the crowd. Face off outside the line. Orr looking for Vadnais. Played in. 58 seconds left on the penalty. Orr keeps it into Esposito. In for Busick. Stops it. Backhander. Scored! John Busick, as he gloved it, dropped it, and wheeled the backhander in with Maniago committing himself.
Well, he made a great play there, Fred, taking that pass from Esposito, but this backhander by Busick may have hit the goalpost. But watch Busick. This is a good play. Very alert. That takes some cool. I think this hit the goalpost. Hodge may get credit for it. I don't know, but it may have hit that center strip in the net. From here, it's hard to tell, but it may be Hodge, it may be Busick.
Wicks pointed to Busick, so it must have gone in on the original one and moved out, but Hodge made sure, and Maniago had, of course, totally committed himself. Well, we had Esposito with 500 goals for his career, and John Busick is making a run on that. 483rd career goal for John Busick. A 1-0 lead for Boston. A power play goal, number 42 for them in the season. Now a face off to the left of Maniago. But Busick controlled that high pass from Esposito, or the assist. 7:59 the time of the goal, and complete silence here.
Great coolness, Fred, in front of that net. A lot of players, you know, don't do that type of thing. But Busick had the presence of mind to knock that high pass down from Esposito and get the backhander away.
Orr keeps it in, clears it in, broken up by Hicks, who's hit by O'Reilly. Boucher is hit by Forbes, and Forbes going out, and Boucher flattens Forbes with a right and a big pile up here. We could have a third man in here. Determination of Ron Wicks. Who is the third man? Boy, they got about 8. Everybody's in on this one. Well, O'Reilly crashed into the boards down here onto the right of or left of Maniago, and then Forbes took Boucher hard into the boards in the opposite corner. And looks like Boucher dropped his gloves very quickly and started swinging. And Dallas Smith moved in, but he moved in to intercept, I think, Hicks. Now, whether Hicks will get the third man in or whether it'll be Dallas Smith remains to be seen, but we had a real set-to right there for a moment as everybody piled in all at once. And we'll have to see how the referee, Ron Wicks, rules this. The penalties will come at 8 minutes, 22 seconds of the first period. There's Forbes hitting Boucher, and watch this right. Bang! There's the best right of the year so far, Boucher and Forbes, and that brought everybody in. Who is the third man, though? That is the question. And they picked one of them. Who would you select? Well, I'll tell you, Fred, the Bruins are going to get some additional penalties here because Forbes was being called for a minor infraction. Whether it was that elbow or not, I don't know. Whether it was boarding. And then the fight occurred, so it could be 5, 5, and 2, Forbes with 2. Now there's the play again. Forbes has a habit of turning into the player and moving that elbow up, sort of as some kind of protection, and maybe he caught Boucher with the elbow. That's Sims moving in. Dallas Smith was also there. John, just a guess here that O'Reilly, as we looked at that replay, John Donnelly is our director, giving us these fine replays. He might have picked O'Reilly as the third man in, and that's the way they've been doing it this year. Another look at it. Who is the third man in? We know it's Boucher and Forbes for the fight. 20 is Reed, 16 Drouin, 11 is Savard, and here comes O'Reilly. Here's 24. Look at him, and he could well get it. I think you're right, Fred. It looks like it's O'Reilly. There's Forbes in the penalty box. There's a break in the action with the score. Boston 1 and Minnesota nothing. Let's pause for this message. Penalties assessed by the referee, Ron Wicks. Dave Forbes has 2 for elbowing and 5 for fighting. Boucher has 5 for fighting and 2 for fighting, so that evens that off, while O'Reilly gets the game misconduct as the third man in. And these penalties are called at 8:22 of the first period. Boston out in front, 1-0, their power play goal, the 42nd of the year for them. Busick is 17th of the year from Esposito and Orr, and it came at 7:59. So Terry O'Reilly thrown out of the game as third man in, and Shepard, Schmatz, Busick with Edestrand and Vadnais. And out comes Parisi, left wing. Shot wide. Rebound by Lois. Drives. Blocked in front by Shepard. Busick. Schmatz. And the quick long drive to save by Maniago. Dropped off for O'Brien. Up for Parisi. And down to Vadnais. Minnesota's been in a fighting mood, we'd have to say. Yeah, more about that when we get a chance, and you probably read about it in the papers. Is Vadnais off for Busick. Edestrand now starting back. To Shepard, and it's cleared in wide of Maniago. 10:50 left in the first period. 1-0 Boston. Schmatz in, trying to break up O'Brien. Goes to Bailois. Up from Murray Oliver. He's playing a right wing position with Duran and Parisi. That play stopped. It bounces for Busick. Almost broke in. Checked by Bailois. And Boston picking up the wings, waiting for the breaks. Playing defensively here now as Busick intercepts on that one from Bailois for Shepard. Shepard keeps it in. Closing. Back for Busick. And he can't get the shot away. Duran out from Murray Oliver on the right wing. Oliver clears it in. On it quickly, Parisi, the drive and the save by Broderick. His second on Parisi. Oliver drops it off for Stanfield. Can't move in on Edestrand. Edestrand out for Schmatz. Schmatz. Long shot wide of Maniago. And Bailois on the rebound. Boston changing on the fly. Bailois pass stopped by Vadnais. And Vadnais controlling. Now to Darrell Edestrand. Nice shift by Stanfield on the move. Trying to close. Stopped in the play. Puck rolls over and outside the line, and Esposito with it. 9:39 left, first period. 1-0 Boston. Power play goal. Esposito and Orr assisting Busick. And O'Brien took a run at Esposito and checked him as Bailois gets it. Around the boards for Martineau. Can't hang on to it. Marcotte trying to set it up for Dallas Smith. Fed in. Stopped by Bailois. Now Stanfield breaks it up. Picking up Langley. And on the right, Martineau faking his shot. Pass to Langley. Goes to the corner. Drops it off. But not controlled by Martineau. Esposito to Smith. Smith up for Marcotte. Looking for Hodge. Shot goes long and wide. Langley avoids a Hodge check, but Hodge gets the puck from Marcotte. Hodge back to the left point. Dallas Smith driving. Blocked in front by Reed. And fed out now for Stanfield. Now to Langley. Alain Langley trying to move in on Orr. Moving to the corner. Falls down. Orr has the puck to Hodge. Hodge hit, check, and hits a shot. Wide of Broderick in the Boston nets. Marcotte can't clear it out. A drive by Reed. Wide on the far side. Long rebound. Hodge. Hodge to Marcotte. Uncovered. Orr breaking with Marcotte. Orr in the middle looking. Gets it back. Moves in the corner. Drops it off. Marcotte spilled on the play again. No interference called. And out now with Graham back on defense. It is Stanfield rushing. Off for Langley. Quick shot wide. And taken by Orr on the rebound. Orr clears it out to Marcotte. Looking for Esposito. Broken up on the play by Talifas. Talifas over the line. The shot wide. As Broderick might have gotten a piece of that. Kept in by Hicks. The drive right on. And Broderick the save. Rebound goes to Graham. Graham snaps it around the boards. Marcotte trying to move it out. Dallas Smith wheels it out by Flesh. Dallas Smith looking for Marcotte. It was struck Esposito's skate, and Flesh starts it back. Off for Reed. Flesh is a particular favorite of the fans here to Dennis Hextall. The shot block goes wide. Orr on it. Orr away from Flesh. Up on the right side for Savard. 1-0 Boston. Savard checked all the way. And Flesh moves it back, takes a hit from Orr as he drives it in, and the crowd getting stirred up here with Flesh taking a run at Smith. It goes to Savard. Breaking with Graham. Graham taking O'Reilly's place. He was kicked out of the game. Third man in on the fight. Around the boards, it goes to Talifas. Talifas in the center ice. Look out for Busick. But he lost it to Sims. Busick back over the line to Savard. Savard closing the shot blocked by Hicks. Deflected wide. And the rebound taken by Talifas, right wing side. New acquisition from Atlanta to Dennis Hextall. Hextall around Sims. Centers it, blocked, and Busick breaks with Savard. Tries a behind-the-back pass, and it's covered by Flesh. 6:38 left, first period. Continuing action, and a penalty coming up now. As Dennis Hextall and Orr started jam, and they're both going out. With the score, Boston 1 and Minnesota nothing. Let's pause for this.
Well, the penalties, Bobby Orr, 5 minutes for slashing. He obviously must have caused the injury to Hextall's head or face, somewhere around that area, because Bobby's drawing a 5-minute major penalty for slashing. Hextall is off for holding. The penalties come at 13 minutes, 28 seconds. So both teams will be a man short for the next 2 minutes, but then, however, Boston will have to play shorthanded for the next 3 minutes. And should Minnesota score, Orr would not be able to come out of the penalty box due to the fact that it's a major assessment of 5 minutes. Orr in for slashing 5 minutes, and Hextall 2 minutes for holding.
Hextall was in a fight the other night after they lost the game in Pittsburgh. They blew a 2-goal lead, lost 6-3. Hextall was in the fight with apparently Langley and Flesh. And it was an intra-squad squabble, if you can call it that. And Goldsworthy came up with that injury that will keep him out for a couple of weeks. Hurt his hand. They said he was the peacemaker. And pugnacious Dennis Hextall involved in a lot of battles. Here comes Marcotte to Esposito, and falling down on the play, Reed back for Marcotte, breaks in, a backhander, and he's stopped by Maniago. $1 million save there by Maniago, as Reed had fallen down, and Esposito sent Marcotte in alone. Back comes Duran over the line, holding, pass reflects in the corner, Esposito back to get it, broken up by Parisi. Parisi back to the left point to Hicks for Parisi, back to Hicks, the drive, blocked. Rolls in on Broderick, partially lost its steam. He made the stop, and now it's out Vadnais to Marcotte, and a long shot on Maniago on the save. Both teams short-handed, but in a minute 4, it will be Minnesota with a man advantage, with Orr with a 5-minute major for cutting Hextall, who went immediately to the dressing room. Esposito with center ice, checking on the play against Parisi. Vadnais on the loose puck. Off for Edestrand. He breaks it up with Schmatz and Esposito. Edestrand going deep. Back for Schmatz. Schmatz for Vadnais. Good position. Fires and misses. Trying to pick the far side. Edestrand back at the left point, holding. His pass stopped by Oliver. And he's out with Hicks. Off on the right side. For Drouin, back to Hicks. In deep for Drouin. Trying to center it. Stopped. Hicks, the defenseman down there. Checked by Vadnais. They battle. And Vadnais gets a face-off. 15 seconds. It will be Minnesota with a man advantage.
So far in the hockey game, both teams have played just about even Steven on either end of the ice. And here's this Marcotte bid. A good stop here by Maniago. There's a good move with that stick. And he just managed to knock the puck off of Marcotte's stick. He was by him, actually, but that long reach with Maniago, and the puck just came right back to him and underneath him. Play did not stop, however, but Boston does lead 1-0. Boston has had the better of the scoring opportunities so far tonight, but both teams have played just about even otherwise.
That Maniago move was the same one he made on Busick, and Busick beat him. Shepard and Schmatz, Sims and Vadnais. And the puck to Boston. Sims off for Shepard. 10 seconds. Minnesota will have the advantage. Shepard goes for the drive, and Maniago the save. And the loose puck to Murray Oliver. 4:35 left in the period. Shepard took a run at Oliver and missed, and Dunlop is back. And over the line goes Oliver. Oliver closing off for Dennis O'Brien. Drive, gloved by Broderick. Tipped off for Vadnais, and he clears. Broderick looking very cool, and made a good play there to help get the puck out of the zone. Dennis O'Brien back for Minnesota. Boston leads 1-0. Feeding in Boston shorthanded. Shepard clears it out. Reaching up high and knocking it down was by Lois, and that face-off now will be in the Minnesota end.
Fred, you mentioned it. Oh, here's a fight going on in front of the, just in front of the penalty box.
Forbes and Boucher as they came out.
Really going at it as they came out of the penalty box, and Boucher is hurt. He's down on the ice, and we got to have a a delay here as Boucha and Forbes went at it, and now it's number 4, Aarons, who has not seen action tonight, going after Forbes. Roderick is out of his net, as is Maniago. And we've got a real Donnybrook going here as Boucha seems to be badly hurt just off the center ice face-off circle as Forbes and Boucha came out of the penalty box.
Going back to the penalty, it was and Vadnais now jamming a bit. And Wick's trying to keep control as the Minnesota trainer comes quickly to the aid of Henry Boucha. Boucha and Forbes had served 7 minutes in total penalties and could not come out until that 7 minutes and then a whistle. And we just had the whistle when it was called. They both came off the bench, and Forbes went right after Boucha. I took my eye off it then.
Well, I did too at the start, Fred, but I think that Boucher's head hit the ice. He was face down, and Forbes was on top of him. Now, whether he tried to get up and Forbes put his weight on top of him or not, I don't know, but it looked to me like Boucher's forehead hit the ice, and that's maybe where he's cut. But we've got a stretcher now on the ice, and they are lifting Boucha onto the stretcher, as you can see right at center ice, where Forbes and Boucha were involved in an altercation at 8:22 of this period, and they went into the penalty box for 7 minutes each. And just as they stepped on the ice, the play was going down into the Minnesota end. I did not see them come out, but then they started to throw punches at each other, and it looked like Forbes got on top of Boucha. He was face down, and maybe that his forehead hit the ice as he was making an effort to get up.
John, we'll have an update on the condition of Boucha as he's being taken off in a stretcher, and of course he's one of the native Minnesota players acquired from Warroad, Minnesota, acquired from Detroit in a trade for Danny Grant, and a very popular player, understandably, here.
Well, Bobby Orr still has 2 minutes 34 seconds to serve on his 5-minute flashing penalty. He went off with Hextall, who was caught for holding at 12:28. Hextall's penalty has expired, and but Orr still has that 2 minutes 34 seconds. We'll have to wait and see how this one is called.
Well, what kind of a penalty do you call now when they both came out tangled? And I am not an eyewitness to it, but you could see them, go at center ice. Looking down at the puck, we had the whistle, and I failed to see it, but obviously Forbes clobbered him.
Well, I think it's very difficult, Fred, from up here to determine just what the assessment is going to be as far as the referee is concerned. The carrying Boucha off on a stretcher, of course, doesn't help Forbes' case in the matter, but I'm sure with the linesman over there, where they're going to have some kind of a short discussion here as to just what the penalty assessment is going to be. Ron Wicks is the referee. The two linesmen, Ray Scapinella and John Brown, you can see them discussing it at this moment. But as far as coming out of the penalty box after the penalty is expired, if it's a fight, then naturally it's 5 minutes each assessment. But it's hard to tell from up here just what the final assessment will be to Forbes and to Boucha.
Aarons did come off the bench now and went after Forbes, and that he is a young man who has not played yet. He is the 5th defenseman for Minnesota, and that's got to be a penalty. That
could be a double minor penalty. That happened in Los Angeles the other night. Hutchison came off the bench in an altercation that Maloney and O'Reilly got involved in, and he got assessed a double minor penalty. Now, that could happen to Aarons. We don't know from here, but maybe that's what the discussion is about. But we'll have to wait and see. The score, Boston 1, Minnesota no score. At 7:59 of the first period, Cusick scored on a power play from Esposito and Orr, his 17th of the year. And the power play goal for Boston was their 42nd of the year.
One other factor, we didn't notice Forbes and Boucha in the penalty box. They could have been warming up for the battle then. I'm just speculating now. Hard to believe that they'd be sitting. They are separated, but fairly near each other, and that might have continued to heat up. But as you recall, the original penalty, as we saw the replays several times before the wild melee broke out earlier, how wild can you get? Forbes had board checked Boucha, and Boucha, an elbow check, and Boucha clobbered him with a right hand that really decked him. And maybe Forbes was heating up there, and then they both came out. But let's see what the fans are really stirred up.
Well, Fred, I don't know. Forbes has that habit of getting that elbow up when he moves in to body check a player, and of course he was called for elbowing. Boucha naturally took objection to the elbow and turned around and really swung at him, and they went at it for a couple of minutes, as you saw in the replay. But we're going to have to wait now to see just what the penalties will be. That's Ron Wicks, the referee, talking to number 11 is Parise, 19 is Shepard, 17 is Schmott. Vadnais in there as well. 16 is Drouin. And the linesman, the big, tall defenseman Reed, is the one next to the linesman on your right of the screen. But our guest at the end of the first period will be the injured right winger of the Minnesota North Stars, Lou Nanne, who broke a bone in his hand. And he'll be with us at the end of the first period. We notice that 31 is on the board for penalty, 2 minutes. Of course, Broderick coming out of his goal. That's an automatic 2-minute penalty, and Maniago also will draw a penalty for leaving the goal crease to enter or even to look at an altercation. They must stay in their crease. Maniago came out first, and that's why Broderick moved out. So those are 2 minor penalties called here at the outset. They're not on the board, but Boucher and Forbes could get 5-minute penalties.
They are announcing them now. Forbes has a match misconduct for deliberate attempt to injure. Aarons has the double minor, which you called earlier, for coming off the bench. And the goaltenders have matching penalties for leaving the crease.
Oh, Fred, that deliberate attempt to injury, depending on what rule it's called under, could be a 10-minute shorthanded situation for Boston. It could be 5. We'll take a look and try to find out exactly what rule this was called under by the referee, Ron Wicks. But we've got, it's difficult for us to hear the PA here, but
the penalties,
looks like Aaron will draw a double minor penalty. We'll have to straighten this out for you just in a moment. Here's the announcement.
Match penalty out of the game for deliberately injuring.
Forbes gets the match misconduct for deliberately injuring, is the rule by referee Wicks.
Will have a game misconduct.
A game misconduct.
Chris Aarons, number 4 of Minnesota, is assessed a double minor.
Aarons gets a
and
double minor.
Both goalies, number 30 Cesar Maniago, number 31 Ken Broderick, have 2-minute minors for leaving the crease area.
We missed a game misconduct which was on a Minnesota player who was the 3rd man in the fight, but we'll pick that one up.
Fred, on a deliberately injuring of an opponent, a match penalty shall be imposed and no substitute shall be permitted to take his place until 10 minutes of actual playing time has elapsed. That's under Rule 49. So sounds to me, if the announcement on the PA is correct, that the referee, Ron Wicks, called it a deliberate injury of an opponent, which means that the Bruins will be shorthanded, not shorthanded, but will be a man short for the 10 minutes time elapsed. Now, of course, they may not be shorthanded because we have to work out the delayed penalties on the double minors plus the penalty to Maniago. And whatever a penalty has been assessed to Boucher. So we'll have to straighten this out. Hopefully we can get these details for you, but when the players line up on the ice, we'll see what the numbers amount to. But we should, at the outset, play with each team 3 men on each side, because the 2-minute minor penalties to Broderick and to Maniago will make each team 1 man short. Aarons draws a double minor. That would make them 2 men short. Orr is still in the penalty box for 2 minutes, 34 seconds. So it will be 3 against 3 at the outset. The penalty, it's getting very confusing, Fred, but we've got a delayed penalty here somewhere along the lines, and it could be the 10-minute shorthanded penalty against Forbes, because Boston has 3 men in the penalty box serving penalties that would make you shorthanded or play without a man. And so we'll have to see how this is lined up at this moment.
Well, I would say that Forbes' 10 minutes starts 2 minutes from now, after Broderick's penalty is up. And then 2 minutes and 34 seconds, Orr's penalty is up. Boston's going to play shorthanded, John, for 8 minutes, roughly. That's a quick estimate. Might not be 8. Might be the full 10.
Well, I have to get my mathematics out here, Fred, but Minnesota will have, they'll have 2 men in the box for 2 full minutes, and then Aarons will remain in the box for an additional 2 minutes. So they will play 2 men in the penalty box and then 1, while the Bruins will have Orr and I believe Broderick. Forbes will draw a 10-minute penalty. If we can show you the clock at this moment, you'll see the penalties listed up on the board. Now, obviously, they can't show a 10-minute penalty. There they are. You see on the right here, Orr has 2:34 left to play. 2:34 left in his penalty. Broderick has 2 minutes, and they can't show 10 minutes on the penalty clock, so it's Forbes with 9:59, and this is Broderick. At least Maniago with 2 minutes on the board, but I don't see Aarons should have 4 minutes on the board. If Aarons does not draw the minor penalties, then of course Boston is really in tough shape.
Well, they've already announced that. Dennis Hextall is back on the Minnesota bench, and we will try and bring you a report on the condition of Henry Boucha as soon as possible. Probably between the periods we'll have the best opportunity. At any rate, Boston leads 1-0. But they're going to play for a very long stretch. You understand, on that penalty, they cannot get a man. They do not get a man back if Minnesota scores 1 goal or if they score 8 of them. And right now, Boston is shorthanded. The question is, why is not Aarons on the double minor? Why Aarons' double minor does not take effect here?
Evidently, Fred, they announced it, and then something happened in the discussion, and they did not assess him the double minor penalty for coming off the bench. So it's only the penalty to Maniago, and I imagine that Boucher received a 5-minute penalty. I don't know for sure, but we'd have to see about that, which does not show on the clock.
3:54 left, first period. Vadnais, Sims, and Esposito against Stanfield, Duran, and Parisi with Bailoas. And this is Stanfield. Over the line and down in the Boston corner. Plays it back, checked by Esposito. Vadnais jamming it up, and Esposito, and they're getting a face-off. And Boston certainly in dire straits as far as penalties are concerned with the match. There's Wicks going over again. It is hard to believe that they have not called Aarons, or that was an earlier announcement. We're looking at the clock.
Fred, we have a problem here. Wicks is over at the penalty box now. I don't know what the discussion is about there, but Forbes' penalty is a delayed penalty because the team cannot play more than 2 men short, and Boston has 3 running penalties in the penalty box at the present time.
And the first one up will be Broderick's, being served by either Schmatz or McKechnie over there. 3:29 left in the first period. Boston leads 1-0. We've had some wild action here at Bloomington. This is Parisi. In for Bailoas. Bailoas over the line, closing. Backhander and a save. Broderick, a big stop, and Bailoas, who walked right in, had a clear backhander at him. And Broderick went down and made the stop. Back for it, Parisi. In a minute, the penalties will be up to Maniago and to Broderick, being served by Schmatz or McKechnie. And this is Parisi over the line and closing. Parisi has it at the left side, back to Stanfield, left point. Right point by Lois. Drive blocked by Sims. By Lois on it again. Drives again. Broderick to save. Vadnais to clear. 2:33 left. Minute before Orr has completed his 5-minute major. Bailoa starts it back with Langley. Alain Langley, number 6, clears it in. Broderick with it. And the rebound to Sims. And Sims clears it out in 10 seconds. Murray Oliver was the third man in, and he was given a penalty, a game misconduct. Earlier, Terry O'Reilly sent out for Boston. This is Hicks. Over the line now for Langley. The shot misses. Kept in by Dunlop. Dunlop closing. Back to the left point to Hicks. In for Dunlop. Trying to clear it back to the point, and it goes to the Minnesota end. And now, Boston 2 men short. It's a 2-man advantage for Minnesota. Before Orr comes back, he will shortly. Dunlop plays it over to Reed. 4 seconds left. Sims breaks it up. Can't clear it out yet. Out it goes into the crowd, and a face-off call, and Orr's penalty is up. And Orr and Schmatz come out.
We just got a report on Henry Boucha. He has a severe cut over and in his right eye, which is leads you to believe that what we saw originally, he turned over on his stomach, and as he maybe tried to get up, or we don't know for sure, but his head hit the ice, and of course you could see what would happen at center ice, and Forbes received a match penalty, and of course the Bruins are playing shorthanded right at this moment. Forbes is now in the penalty box, or his penalty is being served by McKechnie, but he has 9:26 left to serve on that penalty.
Esposito or Marcotte Smith. 1:29 left in the period. Boston gets the face-off and clears it. And as it stands now, Forbes' penalty really just getting underway. 9 minutes and 15 seconds left on that, and Boston will not be allowed a substitute over that period of time. And out comes Dennis Hextall now, the man advantage Minnesota. Clears it in. Back for it deep. Esposito picks an opening and clears it. All the way down wide of Maniago. A minute left in the period. 1-0 Boston. John Flesch. Tom Reed. Back for Hextall in deep. Flesch gets it. Checked by Orr. Orr looking for a face-off, and he gets it. Stay tuned during our first intermission for Johnny Peirson, his guest Lou Nanny, followed by South Portland versus Randolph in mini one-on-one girls competition.
Well, the reason for all the confusion on the penalties, Fred, to be honest with you, was we thought that there was going to be a double minor penalty assessed against Aarons for coming off the bench, and I don't know why that was not done. It was announced not over the public address, but over the intercom, which we have here in the broadcast area. But for some reason, it was either canceled out after a discussion between the referee and the linesman. I don't know, but that's what's the confusion. So Boston actually have been shorthanded one period with 2 men short for 14 total minutes by the time the penalty to Forbes expires.
Stanfield keeps it in along the blue line. Drouin. Back now to by Lois. Checked by Vadnais and Drouin, and he clears it out. Schmatz and Shepard, Vadnais and Orr. 30 seconds left in the period. 8:23 left on that 10-minute penalty to Forbes, which Boston will not be allowed a replacement. Boston leads 1-0. This is Dennis Hextall. Works it in well. Fires, and Broderick makes the save.
Ken Broderick, who has not played much goal in the last 2 years for the Boston Bruins. Last year he played 5. Here's a good move by Hextall to get a good shot away. But well played by Broderick up at the top of his crease. Not too far out, just nicely placed. And he makes the good save. Broderick has been very sound in goal in the first period here at the Sports Center.
Shepard won that face-off. Vadnais' clear goes into the crowd, and a face-off call in the Boston zone. Shepard and Vadnais, Orr and Schmatz. And 7 seconds left in the period. 8 minutes and 2 seconds left on that 10-minute penalty given to Dave Forbes. Thrown out of the game along with earlier Terry O'Reilly. Murray Oliver out for Minnesota. Draw back, won by Shepard for Vadnais, and he jams it up again. Now it's Minnesota trying to center it, but the buzzer sounds, and the first period ends. The score at the end of the first period, Boston 1 and Minnesota 0. Back with the summary in just a minute.